what do you think this means? First of all, why does he have the same face? Is he a variant of Tony Stark? Is the Stark family spun off in another universe into the Doom family line? What the hell is going on? And what is it going to mean for the story?
Curse you, Richards! Marvel, of course, won the day as far as big announcements and all that kind of stuff, because they're talking about the upcoming slate, the next phase, and we see the effects that one actor doing bad things in public have had on an entire studio's output. Now, here's the thing. As exciting as the news is, I will just say, and I don't know what your feelings are on it, it just feels like a waste, because Kang, the character, should not have suffered because of it. And Kang, the character, is such a great linchpin to tie things on, especially when you build him up the way you have through movies and through Loki. And I'm just like, yes. I'm surprised they didn't recast.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't get it.
I don't
understand.
But they chose instead to, and we all knew that with the FF entering the MCU, that finally Doom would come into play. But now Doom has basically been swapped in as the replacement for Kang, as the new baddie. And that is not a problem for me. I don't want to, Doctor Doom is the #1 Marvel villain. But yeah, I just feel like they just chopped off an excellent story at the knees. And maybe Kang will come back, and they're letting things settle, and then like, well, Kang will come in as Doom's antithesis, like maybe Kang versus Doom in the next phase, and it'll be a new actor, and all of it will feel okay. And Doom does have connections to Kang. It's quite possible Doom is an ancestor of Kang. That was something that they have always hinted at in the comics. But anyway, so long way of saying that the big announcement was Avengers 5, which was called the Kang Dynasty, is now called Avengers Doomsday. And then they go on to say, well, everyone, you guys know with Fantastic Four coming up, is like we finally get to introduce one of the best villains of all time, and we needed the best actor who could play him, and here's your Doctor Doom. So the big announcement was RDJ. Is Robert Downey Jr. coming to play Doom? We don't know what their take is going to be. So the news for me, I think for a lot of people, the news is both like, huh. Like, we want to be excited, but we're also afraid of what it is.
Yeah, because it reminds me of when they announced for Rise of Skywalker that Ian McDiarmid was coming back to play Palpatine again. Yeah. And my reaction to that initially was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And I was like kind of tentatively excited for that. It was like,
right, exactly.
That might be interesting depending on how they do it. But the way they did it was so terrible.
I know.
And just like, here he is.
Not that his performance was bad. I mean, that guy always knocking it out of the fucking park.
But
somehow Palpatine came back.
Right. That was also notoriously, unfavorable screenplay writer was Chris Terrio, who wrote the same guy who did Batman v Superman. It was like, oh, great pick, guys. Great pick. You guys are on your,
but also following the notes that JJ laid out. So I mean, that thing was built on a bad foundation.
But in this case, we've got the Russo brothers have come back. They've never turned out a bad MCU movie or a bad movie period, as far as I'm aware. And I think it's the same screenplay writer they've worked with for most of those movies, if not all of them. I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
Yeah, but I think they
believe
announced
it is.
that too.
I think they're bringing back the old team,
so it's not going to suck. At least we know that.
My thing is, I don't want to be cynical, but I think Feige, not that he's sweating it, because Marvel continues to do all right, and good Lord, Deadpool's opening and so forth. I think Marvel's like going, oh God, yes. But I'll say this: I think that this seems to be damage control. I think the Jonathan Majors situation made them sit there going, that is our entire next phase. So they must have just sat there, and because the Russo brothers had said, like, we had a great time. Now we're going to go over and do a Star Wars or something. Thanks, everybody. Marvel, you're awesome. And then I think literally phone calls. And it must have just been like, please, guys, come back and do whatever you want. And then they're like, can we use Dr. Doom? Absolutely can you use Dr. Doom. And Dr. Doom would have been I think the original plan was he'd be introduced in Fantastic Four, and then he, of course, would have been a part of Secret Wars, because he's a huge part of Secret Wars, at least the classic storyline. But I don't think he would have had anything to do with Avengers 5. And then they're like going, oh, shit. So I think this is kind of desperation, that they must have backed up the money truck to the Russos and said, come on back and work your magic. 2 more Avengers movies, please. Thank you. And they were like, okay. And they do get it. I mean, how could you look at what they did? Every single, as you said, every single Marvel film they did is considered like the best, including Winter Soldier and so forth. It's like, yeah, these are just, they get it.
Oh, yeah.
So you're right. At the very least, it won't suck. Do I have concerns? So which is me saying yes.
Yeah, obviously. And I mean, what do you think this means? First of all, that we have Doom being played by, and I know, they're not, this is going to be part of the story at some point, that he has Tony Stark's face. Why does he have the same face? Is he a variant of Tony Stark? Is the Stark family spun off in another universe into the Doom family line? What the hell is going on? And what is it going to mean for the story?
I mean, because, and this is what the internet, or at least I should say, the nerd internet is doing exactly this. And I have plenty of my own theories, and nothing I've come up with is any different than what other people have come up with. But here's what I hope. I hope that they're just casting an excellent actor, and that they will give us the character that has never been done. I actually, this will surprise you. Just out of nostalgia, I sat and, not back to back, but I've rewatched the Fantastic Four films. All 3 of them, including Four Stick or whatever.
Yeah.
Whew, Jesus. And the thing is, in no media, except for Roger Corman's never released terrible Fantastic Four, they have never done that character justice. And he is their best villain. But they always want to reinterpret him somehow. They always want to make him something else. They want to make him a mutant, and he's got powers. And I'm like, look, yes, he knows sorcery, and he's also a hugely tech guy, but he's not a mutant, okay? He didn't get hit by cosmic rays at the same time that his former college roommate did. It's like, come on, dudes, just give us Victor Von Doom. So my hope is that that's what they'll do. And I will say the Robert Downey Jr. face thing shouldn't even be a thing if he is horribly scarred under the mask. We may never see the mask come off.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So my hope is that we're going to get Latverian Victor Von Doom as a dictator / ruler of a small country who is extremely brilliant, who knew Reed Richards in college. And yeah, Ed is wearing on purpose a suit of armor, not organically grown metal, but he's purposely wearing this armor of state, which he has loaded full of tech, similar to what Tony Stark would have done, but loaded with tech. And yeah, it looks kind of medieval, kind of throwbacky. And you're like, what? I got to say the look of Julian McMahon, what was that actor's name? Who played Dr. Doom in the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, who was great on TV and is a fine actor. But I was just like, wow, great. Corporate white bread Victor Von Doom is what we've all wanted.
Yeah.
But that look, instead of him having a suit of armor, but just in sort of this green thing with the hood, the mask looked pretty great. I was like, the look isn't terrible. But, I mean, have the balls, Marvel, to just give us Victor Von Doom.
Yeah.
And Robert Downey Jr. is a really good actor. Have him doing an accent. Have him do a different character that's not the quippy Tony Stark, because that's not Doom. And then I'm happy. I have a feeling it's going to be more of what kind of you were talking about. I have a feeling, this is what I'm guessing, is that the Doom that Fantastic Four knows is a multiversal kind of Stark variant. And that when the FF show up in MCU Earth, they'll first be thrown when they see pictures of Tony Stark, the savior, and they're like, no, that's Victor Von Doom. And they're like, who the hell are you talking about? So unfortunately, I have a feeling it will be something like that, which means that will open the door to having Doom have a Stark-like personality. But I think also Robert Downey Jr., wouldn't that be boring for him to like go, oh, so I'm just going to be kind of doing the same guy? But again, I think a money truck was involved.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert, could you just do the same thing? But you know, so well, yeah, fine. Oh, and I get to wear a mask. They'll probably Mandalorian it. I bet he doesn't even. He probably will be on set for 3 days. Like, and he's like, I am Doom, and then it's just some other guy, and he's in a vocal booth, just like doing "Curse you, Richards."
Yeah,
but I have a feeling that's what they'll do. I don't want that. But if they pull it off, I'll shut up. It would just be a shame that this character, who has been misinterpreted every time out of the gate, if they change him up. Yeah. And I've often said that the changes Marvel makes are usually smart and good, and I usually dig them. I'm just like, guys, don't fuck up. I mean, they changed Red Skull to some degree, another great villain. They changed him, and I was still fine with it. I love his original origin from the comics, but they didn't do that. He still ends up being a great villain, so maybe we'll get that out of Doom.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the similar thing. It's like, you know, like when they announced that the Silver Surfer that we're getting in this Fantastic Four is not Norrin Radd. It's a female, or I guess it's a version of his wife in the comics, right?
Shala Ball.
Yeah. So they're you know, people saying, well, you know, this is the variant version of Silver Surfer. This is not the 616 Silver Surfer. And it's like, okay, but now they're saying the same. Well, this isn't the 616 Doctor Doom. This is a variant Doctor Doom. It's like, are we going to keep doing this and keep? Well, we think you're getting the real one. Well, no, it's a variant first, and then we'll get to the other one later. Well, it just seems like it's going to take the thunder or steal the thunder of the actual character.
That's the problem. And it is also a problem because they never do get to classic. It's just their way of saying, this is our take, and we'll call it a variant, which will make you feel better because the real one's still out there. You just will never see them in action. And I'm like, well, but yeah. And it steals the thunder. You want original before variant, and we're getting a lot of variant before original, and I think that's just their way of saying, we're going to do it a different way. This ain't your daddy's, blah, blah, blah. And if they weren't doing such a good job with their films, this would piss me off as Mr. Nitpicky guy. I'm always got my eye on source material, and I don't think it is a shame or shameful to just stick with the version that we've all known forever. Just make it the best live action interpretation of that. You don't have to sit there and go, but yeah, that's so much corniness and we can't lean into that. Like, I never thought the Mandarin would show up comics accurate. You know, I never did. However, I did think there was a way to do the character without the, you know, all the offensive tropes of it. What we got, it worked. You know, first there was the fake out with, the Mandarin doesn't really exist, and they hired an actor. That was very clever. Still ticked me off a little, but I was like, all right. And then they sort of made up for that by going, but there was always the actual Mandarin who's pissed about great. So he's going to be more, I was just like wanting 10 actual rings on his fingers. No, we get these weird shooty, armbands that he found in a crater. And you're like, I'm like, it's okay. And it's a good actor and I'll take it. And Shang-Chi was a delight. So
yeah. Again, I do really like that one shot too, where the actor, what's his name, Ben Kingsley. When Ben Kingsley's character gets busted out of prison by the men of the actual Mandarin,
which was great. Was it "Hail to the King" is what it was called?
Yes.
And the whole idea is that he's sitting there in prison, kind of living the high life because everyone's like going, "Dude, man, you're the man." He's like, "That's right, hello, boys." And then these representatives go like, the actual Mandarin is very angry. He's like, going, "Oh God, oh God." And then we see that basically he just took him to that, that fantasy land that they live in, and he's doing all right. But
that's right. Again, I totally forgot about his cameo. And
Oh, it's not even a cameo. He's a huge part of the plot.
Yeah,
and
I totally forgot about that.
Shang-Chi is out there.
I got to watch that again.
Yeah, no, it's worth it. It's great.
It's a criminally underrated MCU film, I think.
I mean, people don't talk about it a lot, but it did very well. I think really Quantumania and the Marvels are the two that really have failed.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike either one. I can nitpick specifically Marvels. I'm like, damn, it's tonally not what I wanted at all.
Right. It was a little underwhelming. It's a
big sticking point with Robin. Robin loves the Marvels. And I'm like,
I enjoyed it. I will say it was, as far as big MCU, it's felt a little bit more like a Disney Plus MCU thing instead of an actual movie.
Yes.
I don't know why. It just did.
I think
the stakes weren't as high.
Again, I think the villain wasn't very strong, and I think the stakes weren't very big. And what I wanted, as I've always whined, is like the emotional core of Carol meeting up with Monica after all those years of separation. That should have been like the center of it. And their story should have been fairly dramatic. Also, they had kind of, with Secret Invasion, set up kind of this Kree Skrull peace talks, and all this stuff. And I'm like going, cosmic heaviness is what I wanted. But I wanted Kamala Khan to be exactly the way she is. In other words, she should have been the one that's like going, oh, this is great. And she's still her, and having these like crazy, I can't believe I'm here reactions. But I wanted the other two characters to have to kind of warm to that. Instead, the entire movie feels like we're three gals hanging out, and nothing has any weight to it. I'm like, that's not what I wanted.
I really did like the way it ended, though.
Of course.
I hope that they don't just drop that ball now, but I'm hoping that actually is consequential to, okay, wow, we've got the X-Men already in this other universe, fully formed. Can we see more of that, please?
Well, I mean, I got to, we're leading into Deadpool now.
Yeah.
I think that the thing with Deadpool Wolverine is I got a little confused as to where everyone ends up, which universes we're talking about. That's a problem with multiverse. It's like, which one did Monica Rambeau end up in? It may not have been any of the ones we saw in Deadpool Wolverine.
Right.
So I'm not sure who's coming in to MCU proper. It feels like Deadpool is in 616.
Well, they say they slate that at the beginning of the movie when he's interviewing with Happy Hogan to interview for the Avengers. It says 616, and then after that scene, it goes back to his 10,000 whatever 16. So it has a different number for the Fox universe. That he comes from.
And then he's
and how he got back and forth between those universes, they never explain.
Oh, so, no, he's using the TVA thing.
No, this is before all that. This was it says it happened in 2018.
No, that's connected to the montage. What did he use in the montage that he was bouncing through universes and killing off like Ryan Reynolds and all that stuff? As the joke montage.
That was him. He was using Cable's.
Yes, Cable's device. That's right.
Thing, yeah.
And that's only time though. Not it shouldn't have been multiversal. It's jibber jabber.
It makes such a big deal of it showing you this is this universe, this is that universe.
Yes.
But it would make sense if he had the TVA device at that point, but I don't think he does.
But at the end of the movie, he has brought old Logan, or not old Logan, but Logan is now safely in 616, along with apparently 616.
They're not in 616 though.
They can't be, right? Because Colossus is there. Yeah. So what is Deadpool's home place?
It's the Fox universe, I guess. It's just there. Even though they paid a homage to it in the credits, like this is the end of the Fox universe, but
which I really liked actually.
Yeah, that was nice.
It was very nice because it wasn't snarky. They actually ended with, and the whole movie gives you the feel of like, no, these guys are heroes and they deserve their good end. That was the whole thing. It's like, yeah, Elektra was terrible, but we're still going to give her heroic end. And I'm like, I dig that. Blade gets his heroic end. Gambit, who never even got his movie. Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Way late.
We are spoiling everything. So yeah.
I think pretty much the internet has. If you haven't seen Deadpool Wolverine, it's already been spoiled for you because no one's keeping their mouth shut.
Unfortunately, I got spoiled on a few things before I went in. That's why I went to go see it immediately after getting back home. It's because I wanted to
the only one I had, someone had spoiled for me was X-23, but I was excited to see Laura Kinney again. I was like,
sure,
because great, she's awesome. So a lot of that stuff in that movie, I was like going, are you kidding me? And then, are you kidding me?
The thing I got spoiled on.
Was it?
Sorry, go ahead. Finish your sentence. I think it's the same thing.
So I was about to say the fake out of Cap, but Johnny Storm.
That's what I got spoiled on.
Oh, you got spoiled on that? Oh, what a shame.
Yeah. It was still great.
I was sitting there going, are they doing like a Wasteland multiversal variant on Cap? Because he's doing the commanding voice, and clearly they want you to think that. So when he goes, he's going to say it. Go ahead and say it. And he goes flame on. Oh, man.
My only complaint after that was like that he got taken out. He got taken out so quickly by Pyro, and it was a clever way to get taken out. It was like, oh shit, is he dead? So when he appeared later, he was still alive when they're being transported to Cassandra Nova's base. I was like, okay, good, he's not dead. But we never get to see much more of him after that. I'm like,
well, then Cassandra Nova turns him into a pile of guts.
Into a pile of goo. But I think Gambit made up for that though. I did want to see more of Human Torch, but Gambit, come on.
Here's the thing. Here, as I said, is I'm not a huge Gambit fan as the character. I don't hate him, but he's so 90s, and
they don't shy away from that at all in this. Too.
No, and they lean. The thing I love about it is that Channing Tatum, that was a passion project for him that never happened. And I
didn't know that. Okay.
No,
I had no idea.
It was always almost made, and he for years. It was like, this is the character I was born to play. I have to play him. And it never happened. And the reason is he's from the area. So that accent is not him like, oh, I've studied with the dialect coach. He's like, he's me. And he never got the movie. So this movie gave him this gift. He's not just made a joke. The thing about Deadpool, which is so successful, he mocks everything. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. But it's toothless. In other words, he mocks Wolverine all the way through, and yet Wolverine is still the most badass. You love him. So the jokes don't destroy the character. He mocks every single person he teams up with, including Gambit, and they don't turn it into a joke. Gambit in the fight scenes and all the stuff, and he's dead on playing the character like finally. And they didn't shy away from it. Like John Cowan, he goes, they gave him the head sock. He's got the head sock on. I was like, it's all of it. The goofy ass 90s trench coat. They gave him the whole suit. They let him play it straight. And it's glorious.
It is glorious.
The main thing I've always liked about Gambit is the relationship with Rogue. I mean, I always liked that. The two Southern characters of the X-Men kind of hooking up. I like it. But this was awesome. They treated everyone with respect, even while they mock Elektra and Daredevil.
Yes. Sorry about Daredevil. It's okay.
Yeah, she's like, that's all right. That's fine. And it's like, yeah, I get it. A little uncomfortable. Like the X would have shown up on set in his red leather outfit. That had been rumored, and I was glad that didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I loved the movie. I laughed really hard. It hit a lot of targets, and still managed to have some emotion to it. That's one thing they've done very well in that whole series is it's all fun and games, but you want the happy ending for this hyper violent guy, because he's awesome as long as you don't mess with him. And the fourth wall breaking, just chef's kiss pretty much all the way through it.
Yeah.
And it puts Logan in the mask, and they even give him a reason why he avoided wearing the costume, and it actually has emotional weight. Mm-hmm. It's like, Scott always wanted me to wear it. He wouldn't shut up about it. And it's like, you'll be like, you're part of the team. And he goes, I never wanted to be part of the team. And it's like, oh, now I'm wearing it out of honor to those people I failed. And you're like, oh my God.
That's why he never takes it off. I love that. I love that.
And busting out of that bus where it's the full-on comic panel and Wolverine's doing that and Deadpool's pulling the katanas and then flops and he goes, oh, I screwed that up. That's all they're going to remember about that is that I screwed up the landing. So good.
It's great.
So anyway, I loved it. One into the other. And as far as it setting up things for the future, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that it seems that the multiverse is wide open, hasn't forgotten the Fox characters, and didn't actually kill them off, because at the end he goes, just make sure all my friends, end up somewhere safe.
Yeah.
It's like, that's one of my things.
Yeah. And the fact that Gambit has been introduced, we don't know if we assume he's dead. I mean, they managed to save X-23 from that same situation.
In his world.
So he may still be alive. So they have him there. They can use him. Doesn't have to be the same.
I mean, it is what they do with all of them. There's a possibility that, who knows, somewhere out there, Wesley Snipes' Blade could still be walking around in some part of the universe. I did like where you go.
That was another great.
Only Blade that's ever been or ever will be. And then they cut to Deadpool and he's just kind of like, well, kind of. They're working on one. I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, I love that.
So it basically is just leaving the door wide open. And I don't think that was anything that was in doubt. But this one just clearly shows, hey guys, Fantastic Four coming from a whole other universe, and they're going to be a different thing. And it's going to be great. I loved that part of the Wastelanders, one of them's flying the Fantastic car.
Yeah.
The bathtub car.
Yeah.
So all of it, I'm just, it had me laughing and also was just giving me fan service out the ass. And I'm not complaining about that.
No.
Some people are like going, that's all it is fan service in a movie. I'm like, well it's so much fan service, but there is a storyline. I'm like, that's what they do really well. Every time Hugh Jackman gets an emotional scene in that movie, it's not with a wink. That whole thing when he faces off with Cassandra Nova and he goes, if Charles knew that you existed, much less that you were here, he would have moved heaven and earth to find you and rescue you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it hits. I'm like, boom.
Yeah. His arc is fantastic in this. I've heard some people complain about Cassandra Nova's not being, I thought she was great as far as a villain. I didn't really have any complaints. My only complaint really is in, I forget her name, Marina Baccarin's character.
Yeah. What her character name is.
The reason why they broke up is not really explained very well.
I know.
And it's not really even necessary. That part of his arc in the movie is like, you don't really need to have them split up for him to do what he does in the film. He's trying to save their universe,
Yes.
which includes her. So that whole thing was like, I'm not really understanding this whole thing, but it's okay.
I think it was, they needed him to be at a low point. And also to realize the point of, it's not about you serving yourself or getting your place in the Avengers or whatever. It's about you doing the things you do for other people. And so the scene with Happy spells that out. I did think it was just screenwriting shortcuts where it's like, all right, we just imply and we see one little flashback to an uncomfortable argument where she's like going, you're just going to give up? And he's like, shot my shot and they didn't want it. So, and then he's selling cars. And then you have Peter constantly going like, hey buddy, just still have your Deadpool outfit in there. You want to fight some crime later? And he's like, no. And so they needed him to be there. So what would put Deadpool there? Being turned down as being a hero guy by the hero team. And then also she's so disappointed in him that she has gone off, left him alone. Yeah, I agree. It's weak, but I see why it existed.
It was just one thread that they didn't give enough time.
I mean,
to
it's a very packed movie. They had to work in a scene where they fight each other inside of a Honda.
It's just to see that scene. She's just kind of like, I'm not into it anymore. Like, that's it.
Yeah. But
after all that, because their relationship, the way they build up their relationship in the first movie is so well fleshed out. So,
and he does in this movie, amidst all the joking and the constant homoeroticism, he does just go, it's like, but no, she's it. She is, and I've got to make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
And so they keep coming back to that, where it's like, all joking aside, here's the thing. I love her, and we're meant to be together forever and ever and ever. And they get there, and they earn it, I think. And the happy little family at the end. The only thing that ticked me off is like, why isn't Logan at least in one shot going over and talking to Colossus? Because that's not his Colossus, but at the same time, it would be pretty cool that the two X-Men sitting at the table, and they're like not even acknowledging each other. No, he's got to go over there and go, "Hey, how you doing? My Pete was smaller, not actually a fucking giant like you." No, it was good. It was good. I felt satisfied, and I felt weirdly nostalgic for the Fox films, which is one of the reasons I did the Fantastic Four rewatch. They're not good, but John summed it up very nicely.
They have moments. Yeah.
Yes, they have moments and some great casting and, some decent ideas. But John summed it up pretty well, where he goes, Fox walked so that the MCU could run. It's like, it's true. Fox had to be breaking the ice of bringing the Marvel characters into cinemas, live action. And for all their faults, they did the best they could. And then Feige's like, thanks, guys. I got it from here. Boom. And I love the fact that Feige was like low man on the totem pole during all those. It's like he was sitting there going, hey guys, could you, why don't you put them in the costumes? And they're like going, shut up, dude. Go get us coffee. And in a few years, he's like going, we're going to put them in the costumes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I do. Somebody mentioned, I forget who mentioned this, the possibility of getting the Council of Reeds in a future multiverse thing where they could actually bring back those other two actors, which would be great. Well, Krasinski, but also those two actors from those movies. I can't remember their names.
Miles Teller and it's that
Owen something
Welsh. Yeah.
Griff. Because they were both fine in the role.
They were both fine. I obviously, when you watch the Fox Fantastic Four, you sit there going, half the team is perfect. And no offense to the Reed. The Reed guy he's fine. He feels TV, but then again, so do those movies, because they keep it, the mood and the tone is so light that I'm like, wow, that's one of the things the MCU is that there's quips. They've got characters like Tony Stark, but it still feels even more heavy. It feels like there are stakes. And you watch these Fantastic Four movies, it does feel like they're made for 10-year-olds, and it's okay. But I got to say, Chris Evans is Johnny Storm, and Chiklis is, Ben Grimm are great. Too bad they're in those movies.
Yes. Yeah. Well, speaking of the new Fantastic Four, I need to go. I haven't actually watched the footage from the Comic-Con yet. Dude, but I've seen some clips.
Have you seen the Galactus?
Yes, I did see that screenshot. I haven't seen the video, but
the
thing I want to comment on.
The
thing I want to comment on real quick is the when Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby appear on stage, you can tell the two of them are.
Do you think they've?
I do. I think they're dating.
Not started. Well, no,
because the way they're looking at it, they're holding hands, and the way she's looking at him when he's talking was like, oh yeah. That think bodes well. They're just starting shooting now.
I mean, they've done rehearsals and stuff, but I think they've done kind of like when they do a war film and they've got a unit. Very often they will just have chemistry sessions where it's just, let's hang out to get to know each other, because we have to appear like we've known each other for years, that we all have familial or romantic bonds, that kind of thing. So I'm sure it's basically them going like, so, what do you do in your time off? I just imagine them in these like rehearsal spaces going like, did you catch the game last night? which I love. I actually always love that part of the sort of actor nonsense, but it does help. Like when they show up on screen, plus the fact we already know this isn't an origin movie. And even if it were an origin movie, all those characters knew each other for years before they became the Fantastic Four anyway. Yeah, it's going to be entirely apparent. And yeah, I got the same vibe. And I got the same vibe that they have very quickly. It's like, we've got a bond. This is what we have to do to be the Fantastic Four.
Tells me that, I mean, obviously it's just those two actors, but I know because those the actors that they have cast, the chemistry is going to be just off the charts awesome between the four of them. It's going to be so good. And that picture you sent me, the graphic of the Baxter Building and the launch pad that takes up like half of Manhattan, and it was like, oh, that's so over the top. I love that. I love that it's just so massive. It's like bigger than Central Park.
I am so jealous of the people that were there for that specific panel. They got these fans, which, for one thing, San Diego Comic-Con, yes, you need those. But they handed out these paper fans that had retro 1960s map of New York on it. So that's just the zoom in of the Baxter Building part, but that was on the map. And I'm like, so jealous. I want that. All of the pre-production art that's come out, every bit of it, I just sit there going, they nailed it.
They did. And it's seeing all this now, the extent to which we can see they're going with it, it makes so much sense. Like, oh, this is why they're setting it in an alternate universe, because the gloves are off. You know, they can do whatever they fucking want.
And when the FF show up in the MCU, there'll be plenty of fish out of water. Like, wow, really? Huh. You know, it'd be like Reed Richards going, I think we have a lot of work to do. You know, like, yeah, buddy. Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Do we know for a
FF.
fact that that's going to happen, though, or are we just theorizing that they're going to be folded into the 616?
No, we know they're going to be folded into 616.
We do?
They already said that at Comic-Con. They said that the FF will be in Doomsday and Secret Wars. So basically, they get their first movie on their own. First Steps is what it's called. And then they'll shunt into... sounds like a dirty word, but it's not. They will shunt into the MCU proper, probably on the trail of Doom, and they'll be meeting the Avengers. And so, oh, did you see it's not a great logo, I mean, but the X-Men Avengers thing?
No.
They did a tease, because again, this is several movies down the line, but it's just this thing where the Avengers logo comes up the A, and then suddenly, just out of the darkness, this big X in a circle comes up behind it. X-Men versus Avengers, or Avengers versus X-Men, is one of the ones coming up in like 5 years or something. And that's the first tease they're doing of it, and I'm just like going, holy fuck. What a time to be alive.
They're saying too, and I'm not sure where this is coming from, but they're saying that after Secret Wars, the multiverse is going to get compressed down into one thing.
I assume Secret Wars is where that's going to happen.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, I don't know if they're going to go full on Beyonder. That would be weird. But in Secret Wars, the comic, obviously, the Beyonder created a world that was patched together from different worlds, which is where he had everyone fight each other. Mm-hmm. That's a whole other, thing. Then the more recent version of Secret Wars, because they did a new take on it, it involves multiple Earths. It's very, we've stolen this from DC.
Yeah.
Where it's all kind of fused from the multiverse. And Doom is married to Sue Storm, and it's all like, what? This is crazy. And he's got this badass white suit, white armor. It's pretty great.
It's kind of like Flashpoint in a sense. That things are all kind of mixed around.
Where it's like, oh, what you thought was, but it's all, and there's only a couple of characters that are like, something's wrong here. And then this feels like not the way the universe should be. And then they get everything fixed. But it was pretty good. So I think that's what they'll probably be doing. Either I don't think they'll get rid of the multiverse because it's too rich, you know.
Right.
But they will probably have something where Earths converge, and maybe it'll also be their excuse to take a page out of Mr. Gunn's book, and maybe the MCU proper will become slightly more stylized because it'll have all these different worlds fused together, and maybe the new status quo is they wake up and it's always been that way, and it won't be so much our Earth anymore. I don't know if they'll have the courage to do that. It would be pretty cool. By the way, seeing Laura Kinney again in Deadpool Wolverine, all I can think is put her on Young Avengers, man, because we're already building and we know Young Avengers is coming. They've got the seeds for all these characters. You've got Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and you've got Kamala Khan, and if we could have Laura Kinney, and they've even introduced Isaiah Bradley's like grandson who ends up being Patriot, put him on there. We've got Wanda's kids, so we've and one of them will be Billy, will be a big part of the Harkness, Agatha Harkness show, because he's Wiccan. Wiccan is his
right.
name.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've got Cassie, you've got Scott Lang's daughter who becomes Stature. Mm-hmm. So you could, man, just build that team right now and start filming it tomorrow. I just get so excited about the possibilities, which until we get to see where James Gunn is going, that is still much more nebulous. I will say that Feige and the Russos and the way the MCU does it, they literally give us these touchstones that we can look forward to for like the next 5-7 years. Gunn has done that too. We know there's more Peacemaker coming. We know there's the Waller series. We know there's various other things, but again, I don't quite know the shape of what the DC cinematic universe is going to be. When do we get our canonical Batman? And by the way, the Penguin trailers all look great too. It's like every day something gets dropped and I'm like going, ooh.
Yeah.
In the new Penguin trailer, which, I mean, it does look like it's just straight up Sopranos and Gotham. But at the same time, there's one shot for 2 seconds with him opening an umbrella out in the rain. I went, umbrella!
Oh, good.
Well, I mean, I think it literally will just be him opening an umbrella because it's raining. But just for half a second, I'm like going, good. And John made fun of me for like going, he's got an umbrella for 2 seconds. Now, if only a top hat will fall onto his head and a monocle just appears. He's got a monocle and a top hat and hi. I'm easy to please. Like, just give me one shot with him in a tuxedo and I'll be okay.
Speaking of comfort foodie trappings like that from DC, we haven't had a chance to talk about this reveal that towards the end of filming in Cleveland, they moved the production over to Cincinnati.
Yes.
And shot something at the Union Station, whatever that place is called, the Union Terminal.
One thing that amazes me is that no one has. I mean, people have made the connection. Obviously, the Hall of Justice from Super Friends, just by chance, that whatever background artist is like, oh, you know what's a cool looking building that's kind of Art Deco is this place in Cincinnati, which is like a train station. It is totally Art Deco. And he just used that as the model, a la, then we end up with the Hall of Justice for Super Friends. Cut to years later, Alex Ross doing Kingdom Come, or I think it's in Kingdom Come, where he's like, obviously he's our generation, and he's like, why not have the Justice League actually be in a Hall of Justice like the one from and Legion of Doom? Why don't they have the big, or it may be Injustice, which is the miniseries also he painted. He didn't write that one. But in other words, yeah, why not use that iconography from the cartoons? Because they're badass looking. And then future, as in into New 52 and on, they now include Hall of Justice as a place. No, I mean, they still have a JLA satellite. There's still the watchtower on the moon. They've kept all those. But they're like, what about just having the 1970s Hall of Justice looking the way it did from Super Friends? No shame in it. And it looks great. And the fact that it almost seems like people kind of forgot that was based on a real building. And
I never knew it until this news broke. I never knew.
I'd seen pictures of it years ago and like, holy shit, it really exists.
Yeah, and of course, in retrospect, I realized that because they did use the building in the CW, the Crisis thing.
Oh, yeah, they did.
It was introduced as a hangar that an old hangar that Star Labs owns.
Right.
And it's just empty. They're standing in there. It's just this big empty space. So it's not really that interesting, but it's like, oh, that's kind of a nice touch. So I saw that. I was like, oh, cool.
I just love that either Gunn himself or someone on his production staff are like going, look, as long as you're getting them together in a location, why not have it be something that'll instantly hit nostalgia buttons? And so they're filming at the real building.
I read too that I think Gamir, the guy who was the background artist for Super Friends, who came up with that design, he hated it apparently because his original design. Nobody knows what the real sketches are apparently because I haven't seen them. But his original idea was not. It was kind of inspired by the Union Terminal, but it wasn't just completely like. And so he gave those sketches to his higher ups at Hanna-Barbera, and they said, well, and they made it almost completely like identical to the original building. And he hated that because then he had to keep drawing it for all the future shows.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He says, yeah, I wound up hating that building because it was really hard to draw.
I will say, I mean, the version obviously in the cartoon and possibly what we'll get in the movie if they CGI dress it up, or maybe they'll just leave it the way it is. Cause like we speculated, what if it is something where literally Mr. Terrific or Superman are like going, we could meet in here. And maybe they'll use the real building to look like the pre-version. But yeah, other than the fountain doesn't exist in real life. There's a couple of like pylon sort of structures on the outside of it that are also unique to the cartoon. But the building shape itself, when you get to the building, it's like, dude, that's just it. And it is gorgeous, sort of this domed arch thing with the dividing pillar, and
the interior is gorgeous too. Have you seen pictures of the actual interior?
Yeah. So I will say in the 1930s, train stations, they fucking knocked them out of the park. I mean, you go to Grand Central and you're just like, that's just
Hoover Dam gorgeous. Is what it really reminds me of because I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's just
also it is still in the height of the Deco movement. So you have these one thing we don't do so much in architecture anymore is needless but gorgeous decoration where with an eye towards aesthetics instead of functionality. Some buildings are getting closer to that. Now they're doing things like, look, it's a skyscraper, but it twists. And you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I'm still sitting there going, I was born way too late. Yeah. I want to be walking around 1930s and 40s because I love not having any food. And fighting in wars. No, it's a joke.
Along those lines, somebody else pointed this out.
Soup lines, bread lines.
No, in the on this, we know that we know that Gunn is doing a really sort of he is going for this sort of Art Deco aesthetic with Metropolis. Yeah. What's interesting is that all the cars we've seen on the set in Cleveland look really kind of boring. Modern day.
I think there's probably a limit to it. And as you kept pointing out in set photos, and it had kind of flown by me, but you were paying closer attention, which again, you need to get out of the house every now and then. No, it had escaped my notice that a lot of the extras on the street, they're dressed in drab 1970s-esque clothing.
You know what it reminded me of is Sweet Haven. Where they're all kind of dressed in a similar,
where it is sort of like beige and drab. That's also 70s though. Is that those were the colors of the time? Nothing really pops,
right?
But yeah, it is a thing where maybe he's trying to make the day-to-day world that drab, and then you have these colorful heroes dropping out of the sky, and the contrast, if it weren't pronounced enough, is going to be just heightened because it does look like most people are wearing brown plaids and checkered patterns and
corduroy.
Yeah. You're like going, this is a choice. This is a choice it's making. Totally. I just don't know what we're going to get. I wonder if our brains will be able to handle it. That he's going so purposefully stylized and comic book.
And we got to keep in mind,
down.
We're only seeing street level stuff because you know that there's going to be CGI out the wazoo of the buildings that are there are going to be augmented and extended, just like the Daily Planet, you know. Yes. So we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, as it were. With this
it's
stuff.
True. We're basing all of this, and we've gotten some feedback. I do read comments on our videos. We've gotten some feedback that it's legit. All of your feedback, by the way, is legit, whether or not I agree with it. But I will say that we've gotten lots of feedback about you guys are just zeroing in on minutia. And it's because we have a hunger and an excitement about what's coming up. And granted, most of the populace, and I would hope so, are just like, we'll see the movie when it comes out. We're not to be bothered with all this stuff. But these are little glimpses, and we're excited enough to try and speculate on what the thing is, whether that's story or aesthetic or vibe. It's all just us looking at what's available, which, according to Gunn, is nothing of consequence. He's like, we're not filming any of the big stuff out in the open.
Right.
I'm like, well, I don't know. That scene with Superman getting beaten on, and I'm like, that looks pretty. But but the whole thing is he's basically saying, like, no, we knew people would be watching, you know, and I'm like, obviously. And I'm eating it up. And I don't really want the movie spoiled. However, just like yourself, I can't keep my imagination from kind of going wild because I don't think this will be like anything we've gotten before. And that includes the MCU. And I think that's good. I think this will be its own thing. It might end up being too goofy and campy for me. It might lean too much into comedy. I have no idea. I trust Gunn. And I look at pictures like, again, this went straight to my Zing-Zang heart, because my Zing-Zang heart, it's different from my heart. You know the one. I've got the Zing-Zang.
Yeah, I know it well.
Is the shots of like the children running to Superman and him scooping a couple of, I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. I mean, the thing with him and the squirrel, I can't even guess. That's just weird.
Well, sorry, finish your thought.
But I mean, and again, he knows people are taking pictures or whatever. It's like, I don't care. I see that and I just go, that's the character I want. I want a character that's like embracing kids in an appropriate way and smiling. Just like, Cavill is a damn handsome man. Would have been really nice if he was smiling more often as fucking Superman. Sorry, everybody. I know that sounds wimpy to a lot of you guys. Like going, man, Christopher Reeve and Taylor Hodgson and Brandon Routh. He's all just like, we're wussies. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My Superman is a guy that fucking hit Darkseid in the face, and then Darkseid's like, ow. Superman's like, that's not enough. I'm going to hit you again. Bam! Teeth come out, blood, and Darkseid's like, no more. And Superman's like, no, much more. Burn, bang, bang, bang. That's my Superman. He's badass.
Yeah, this is the thing they keep saying is like, why can't Superman mature, and grow up? I'm like, what is this conception of maturing?
What about maturity and growing up and being a man equates losing all hope, joy,
and humor,
optimism? I want a Superman that actually flies to Apocalypse and hits the entire planet in the face. It just goes biggity.
He carves a face into it first with his heat vision, and then he punches it.
Meanwhile, there's like parademons, and then you see them in their houses, and they're just jumping because the planet keeps getting hit, and they're like, "What the fuck going on?" It's that Superman. I want to see him kill more people.
So along those lines, that scene where he's got the squirrel, and I went back and looked because a lot of the people are saying, "Oh, it's Chip from the Green Lantern Corps."
Green Lantern Corps.
So you look closely at those photos. There's a series of them. It's wire work where he's being floated through the city park.
Yeah,
low to the ground. He's holding something. You can't see from the angle it is. And then there's a shot where he lands, he kneels, and he's like releasing something that's not there. It's like you can say, oh, it's a CG thing. Then they have shots of the animal trainers bringing in this real squirrel in this little fiberglass box. They put that in front of him, and he's sitting there looking at it. I think it's clear what happened is he's rescued a squirrel from something.
Yeah.
And he's bringing it back to the city park. And it's a point of what people are saying, we need Superman saving cats from trees and stuff. And this one, apparently he rescues a squirrel, which I think is really sweet.
What if the box is actually part of it too, though? What if it's actually something like he rescued that squirrel from like Star Labs or Cadmus or something?
Maybe. Like, I suspect, because it's not there. There's that shot of him. He lands and he puts something there and there's nothing there for that shot.
Yeah.
And then, so I think maybe that's just, they have the squirrel in the box so it won't run away. And they're going to digitally remove it later. Because if it really was like a CGI character he's talking to, why would they need to actually have a real squirrel there? Because they didn't have a real dog for those crypto scenes we saw. Assuming it's crypto, we don't really know.
Again, we're taking stabs, we're taking swings.
Yeah. So
again, Mr. Gunn, if we're wrong, just give us a call. Just give us a call. I'm always sort of like hoping one of these days, you know, we get a call from Jimmy, our pal Jimmy, and he's like going, "Hey guys, could you calm it down on all the speculation?" Though I will say again, my offer still stands. You get us out there for some of this. We've now got 950, I think.
We're gonna break 1,000 in the next
subscribers.
Few days,
so
and thank you, people. Thank you.
We can guarantee at least 950 tickets.
Yes.
But anyway, I love Deadpool. Go see it because they need your help.
Yeah,
he's not doing well.
Oh, what really quick? It was somebody said, I saw somebody say, "Oh, this is probably the last Deadpool movie," and then I was like, "What?" And then I saw how well it's doing. It's like doing insanely well. I was like,
"Yes,
oh no, this will not be the last Deadpool movie.
This will not be the last Deadpool movie."
Weirdos.
And more than likely, he'll at least have cameos when the X-Men show up. I mean, it's all, and probably he'll be in Secret Wars.
I hope so.
There are things where Deadpool and Wolverine in the comics, and they've had their own miniseries and so forth. They're a great pairing, obviously, for one's deadly serious and one can't be serious, and they're both hyper violent. But I really love Deadpool Spider-Man because it's a guy who's known to be a quipping hero suddenly meeting a guy who quips even more. Yeah. And that dynamic is great. So all I can sit there is like going, please God, give us a Ryan Reynolds, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Deadpool, not a movie perhaps, but at least some scenes where they cross over.
Yeah.
I'm dying for it.
What I would really hope they do at some point is I thought we were going to get it in this one, but we didn't, and that's fine. But getting characters to go, who are you talking to? Or, you know, how do you know that?
What's interesting about all the Deadpool movies is it's almost like the comments that would not make sense in that universe, people either don't hear, they never comment on it.
Right.
So when he says something about Feige or Fox or Disney, no one goes, what?
Yeah.
What are you on about? Which I know would ruin the joke. It would also ruin the timing of a movie.
Yes.
It's almost as if he isn't saying them or he is saying them and maybe reality blocks it out for them because he is aware that he is a fictional character running around these things.
Just like a Shakespearean fourth wall break.
Yes, exactly. So it is strange that like he'll get a joke about adamantium. Wolverine's like going, yeah, well, it's done me okay or whatever. And that's because Wolverine understands that. But then he'll say something about like he makes all the Australian jokes. Wolverine's Canadian. And they never have Wolverine go, I'm Canadian. What are you talking about? It's a Hugh Jackman joke. He doesn't hear it. I love that. It's a weird thing. I bet he would meet Tom Holland's, Spider-Man and make jokes about Billy Elliot or something like going, he'll make these totally non-universe specific jokes. Spider-Man won't even hear it.
It would be great just to have at least one scene where, like that, where Spider-Man or Peter Parker suddenly goes, what the hell are you talking about? Just once. Because it reminds me of, oh, God damn it. What was I just thinking of? I lost it.
Oh, good. Again, I'm not the only one aging rapidly.
Oh, I know what it was.
Oh,
yeah. It was an old Looney Tunes thing. This is so very obscure cut, but where there's an old Porky Pig cartoon where the antagonist keeps going, oh, your mother wears combat boots. Your uncle does this, whatever. And at some point, finally, like halfway through the cartoon or towards the end, he stops and he does a fourth wall break. He looks at the audience and says, how does he know so much about my family? Something like that. It's like where suddenly the cartoon becomes meta for one second and acknowledges its goofy humor for a second, and then it moves on. That type
and
of
you,
thing.
I love that. You just have to have established it in universe. Deadpool from the drop has that as a huge strength. And we love the guy, even though we see him eviscerating humans constantly. And it is a thing where he gets license to be the guy who talks out of turn, talks to the audience, and does horrible things. And we're still like going, yay! That scene, one of the things that did crack me up that I completely remembered is at the very beginning when he's using Skeleton Wolverine's claws to basically spit roast a guy literally with his hand in his ass, and he shoved the other hand into another guy's crotch. Yes. And one of the guys, I think the guy with his hand in his ass is like going, just make it stop. Yeah. And Deadpool goes, Mangold tried. It's just like, it's James Mangold, the Logan director. And he's like going, nope, Mangold tried. He couldn't make it stop. And I'm just sitting there going, this is Looney Tunes. It's just hyper violent Looney Tunes. And it really is brilliant. Yeah. Make it stop. Oh my God damn. All right. So this was fun. Next week we'll talk about, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
It'll be something.
Yeah, it'll be something. Maybe we go back and do something retro again.
I think we probably should do, since we've got the Time Bandit series and I'm going to have that Brazil episode coming out, do a Time Bandit thing and maybe go ahead and do Baron Munchausen and do the entire Imagination trilogy.
Oh, the Imagination trilogy. Oh, man, I love every single one of them. Every single one of them. I got no problem with it. All right, I'm down for that. But anyway, regardless, thank you, everybody. Thank you. And even though I mock your comments, I want them.
Yeah. Keep it coming. By the time this episode comes out, we probably would have broken 1,000 subscribers. And thank you very much, everybody who's jumped on and commented and liked and subscribed. And we love you all, unless you've been bitching about the Snyderverse. But everybody else, we love you.
And I'll wrap up with a little Casey and the Sunshine Band. Keep it coming, love. Keep it coming, love. And then something, don't know the lyrics. Keep it. All right. Sorry. All right. Bye, everybody. See you next week. You remember this part, the very famous part from the first Captain America film.
Are you Mary Queen of Scots?
Yeah, that's exactly what I always think of. I am. I think she's dead.
No, I'm
not. Anyway. Fuck you, FF. You're in space.